You're listening to Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance, Protecting Texas Churches. The show that gives pastors and church leaders the clarity they need to protect their people, property, and ministry.
Welcome back to Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance, Protecting Texas Churches. I'm your host, Ron Wadley with Insurance for Texans. We help church leaders protect their people and property with wisdom and clarity. In today's episode, we are talking about how your church insurance policy responds to abuse allegations. Let me start with a reality check. A single phone call on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday morning changed everything for a church in Waco. Joseph's church had hosted a huge youth gathering a couple of weekends ago, and it felt like every teenager in town was there. Joseph was overwhelmed by the response and proud of his church for being able to minister to so many new kids. But as he answered that Tuesday phone call, he learned something terrible. A parent was claiming that one of the church's youth volunteers behaved inappropriately with their child. Those words didn't even seem real. What most church leaders don't realize is that the truth of an allegation is only part of the story. Even when an investigation clears everyone involved, the damage has already been done. Attorney fees, records fees, law enforcement involvement, all of that costs money. It's not unusual for Texas churches to spend $50,000 or more before ever stepping foot into a courtroom. And that is not even the cost associated with a verdict or a settlement. This is just the cost of defending yourself. Even if the accusations turn out to be false, you are still out all of the defense costs. And here's where many churches are blindsided. They assume their general liability insurance will step in, defend them, and cover those costs. General liability policies do not cover defense for these allegations. Most general liability policies written for Texas churches specifically exclude sexual abuse and molestation claims. Others limit that coverage so tightly that it barely makes a dent in the legal bills. Another thing to know is that Texas law is tightening the expectations placed on churches. Mandatory reporting laws are strict and unforgiving. Churches that can't show documentation of background checks, training, and response procedures can be accused of negligence, even if church leadership had no knowledge of any misconduct. Civil attorneys are becoming more aggressive, and juries are increasingly sympathetic to plaintiffs as more claims are heard by courts. That shift means churches are now spending more time in court defending their processes than ever before. It's not just about what happens, it's about what you can prove you did to prevent it. Preparation also includes having the right insurance. This is why sexual abuse and molestation liability coverage exists. It's a separate, specialized policy designed to handle the legal defense and potential settlements tied to abuse allegations. When written correctly, it allows the insurance company to step in, assign defense counsel, and manage the legal process so the church can continue to focus on their ministry activities. Without this protection, the church is on its own when abuse allegations surface. This is also where working with a church insurance specialist matters. A generalist agent may not even know to bring this up. They may focus on price, buildings, or basic liability and assume everything else is covered. A church insurance specialist asks harder questions because they understand how claims actually play out in Texas courts. At Insurance for Texans, this is part of how we approach true Texas church insurance. We don't just start with quotes. We ask questions. We want to know what your church owns, how it operates, and who serves children. We ask about your training and policies and whether or not they are written down. If you don't know whether or not your church's insurance includes sexual misconduct coverage, or if you don't know how your policy covers legal fees, it is time to slow down and get clarity. If you want help reviewing your current coverage and understanding where your church may be exposed, reach out to the church insurance agents at Insurance for Texans. We'll walk through your policy, explain what's actually covered, and help you close the gaps before it's too late. Connect with us at insurancefortexans.com. And if you want to think more deeply about how certainty fits into faithful leadership, get a free copy of our book, The Promise of Certainty, at thepromiseofcertainty.com. I'm Ron Wadley, and this has been Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance, Protecting Texas Churches. Until next time, remember, church insurance isn't just about policies. It's about understanding what you have before you actually need to use it.
Thanks for listening to Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance. Until next time, remember, insurance isn't just about policies. It's about safeguarding the mission God has called you to lead.